Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Nick Tan Chats, my magic and mostly mentalism review show. My name is Nick Tan, and on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about a mentalism book called Mental Suites by, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce their names, Fabien Arcole and Eric Bertrand. Yeah. So hi again guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for showing up, thanks for tuning in, thanks for spending some time with me today. So on today's episode, I'll be chatting with you guys about a mentalism book, okay, that is called Mental Suites. This is volume 1. I understand that there are 2 volumes, but today we'll be talking about volume 1. And this is not a new book actually. It's been out in the market for quite some time. I believe it was out in like 2015 or so. Funny story with this book, alright, because Fabien actually sent me the book quite some time ago. But when he first sent me the book the first time round, it wasn't the correct book. Okay, I received this copy, and when this came in the mail, I was really happy, okay, because I thought, yes, the book is here. And then when I started opening it up, it wasn't the book at all. In fact, it was the Association Exec's Guide to Improving Organizational Performance. So it was a book about, I don't know, like management, consulting, management systems, you know, for like business. I browsed through it and it was really just about, you know, strategic alignment and, you know, it's all business stuff. So I got in touch with Fabien. As it turned out, it was the wrongly printed copy that he sent me. Okay, so this is actually a very rare edition, okay, the cover of Mental Suites, but the content is all about business, so it's probably the only one in the world right now. He eventually sent me the correct version, and so I got the chance to read it, okay, and so let's talk about the content of the book right now. So Mental Suites, all right, as I mentioned earlier, it was a book that, you know, contained, you know, mentalism routines, and it's based, well, the first chapter at least, okay, there are like 3 chapters in this book. The first chapter features 4 routines that are just based on billet work. Now, the billet work in this book really reminded me of the work of Yas Yakut's, okay, in the completely mental manuscripts. It is not easy, I think. I mean, it's not for the beginner. You will need some performance experience in mentalism, I think, to successfully, you know, use the material in this book, okay, because they do use, you know, techniques, okay, which aren't, you know, explained in great detail. You know, they just say, you know, do a billet switch, something like that, you know, and they don't go into detail. And also some of the methods used when getting the information also requires some, you know, prior experience in mentalism. Okay, so if you're a new guy, you might not be ready for this book, but it is a worthwhile read. The book begins with a foreword by one of my favorite mentalists around, Mark Paul. And that was one of the points that made me want to read this book as well, you know, because if Mark Paul says it's good, chances are I will like it as well. So let's jump straight into chapter 1, Suite Billets, all right, which begins with a routine called Hollywood Q&A, all right, that is contributed by Eric Bertrand. Let me describe the effect to you, because as how the routine plays out, I think it looks really clean. Okay, so what happens is you've got a bowl of billets, and these are just, you know, handed out to the audience. Each member of the audience can just grab one for themselves. They are blank billets. They are folded into quarters. On the outside of the billets, you know, there are like numbers written on them. They don't need to write down their names. They just need to remember the number that is on their paper. They unfold the billet, and in there they are asked to write down a movie. Okay, any movie that they've watched before. They can imagine a scene from the movie as well. Once that's done, they refold the billet into quarters, and you collect back all of the billets into the bowl, okay, and you set that bowl onto the stage. You invite one person to come on up, you hand them an envelope, you know, this is done hands off. You tell them to just reach inside the bowl, sight unseen, don't even look at what number billet you've selected, take it, insert it into the envelope, seal it up, and they hang on to that envelope until the end of the demonstration. From here, you now very cleanly reach into the bowl, you remove one billet and you call out the number on that billet. So number 23, for example, and the person in the audience stands up and you place that billet onto the table. You can take a notepad and just make some notes, Q&A style, right? You interact with this spectator in the audience, you reveal the scene that they're thinking of from the movie, and eventually you tell them the movie that they're thinking of. You return this billet to that person without unfolding it. Okay, really important. Without unfolding the billet, it is just returned to that person. Okay, and now you can continue. You reach into the bowl, you call out the next number, number 10, for example. Number 10 stands up. You immediately hand the billet to them without unfolding it. All right, and from here, again, you write down notes, you describe the scene that they're thinking of, you reveal the movie, and they take a seat with their billet in their hand. You can do this one more time. You reach in there, you pull out another billet, you call it number 4. Number 4 stands up, you hand the billet straight to them, and again, you are able to reveal the movie that they are thinking of. And as a finale, the person who had the envelope at the start, you get impressions from the envelope, you take it from them, you sense the vibrations and you describe a scene, all right, from the movie, and then you're able to reveal the movie as well, okay? And then you can open up the envelope, you remove the billet, and you again hand it back to the person in its folded condition. So that's the effect for Hollywood Q&A. Now, I've gone into quite a bit of detail as to what happens in the routine because I want to illustrate a very important point in this routine. No billets are opened in the course of the routine. From the audience's perspective, you are just handling folded pieces of paper. None of them are opened up on stage. I think the effect looks really clean. I mean, obviously, I haven't had the time to try it out or perform it, but the way I imagine it playing out in my head, I think it looks really clean. I mean, you're just picking up billets, calling out the number, the person stands, you hand it to them, and you immediately, reveal what's on their card, right? And they can immediately sit down. This is an approach to billet work, I think that I personally have not used very often. Okay, because in the work that I do, I often open up billets just openly, right? On stage, I just, sense information, open it up, and read out what the billet says. So in this approach, that look is eliminated. Okay, so you don't have that kind of a sequence for the audience to look at. All the billets are kept folded and they are just handed back to the correct person as well. If there's anyone in the audience familiar with any of these sorts of mentalism techniques, they will also be quite, it will raise an eyebrow, let's put it that way. This routine also, I mean, while it is done, using movies as the theme, it can very easily, the system, all right, the method can easily be applied to a Q&A routine, for example. So moving along, I won't be describing each of the other routines in the book in quite as much detail, all right? But for the first routine, I thought it was important just to illustrate the spirit of which this book was kind of written in, okay? So the next routine is called Hollywood 4DT, all right? Also by Bertrand. 4DT, obviously, fourth dimensional telepathy. So it's the classic 3-envelope test that I'm sure many of us do, in our professional work. In this handling, however, only 3 envelopes are used. Okay, so there's no stack of envelopes. 3 people fill in information. As per the original effect, you can reveal all the information and each of the cards can be returned to the owner of the billet. The next routine is called Name, Place, No Tear. So this is a routine that is, Bob Cassidy's name and place routine. Okay, so in this handling, no billet is destroyed, no billet is torn up or burnt. It's basically you have 2 people, they fill up, 2 billets. They are brought back to the stage and set onto the table. All right, so if this is your table and you have 2 spectators, one is folded and placed on this side, one is folded and placed on this side of the table. They are separate, so people from the stage, from the audience rather, can still see whose billet is whose. From here, you can reveal both pieces of information and then return both billets at the end. And the final routine in chapter 1 is called ESP chairs. Okay, now this is a more involved routine. There are 5 chairs on stage, and you have the spectators choose a chair to sit in. So there are multiple effects in this. They come up, each of them has a billet. One of them will fill in the name of a celebrity. They mix themselves up, and then you're able to tell who wrote down the celebrity. At this point, you're really open to like lie detection kind of presentations. You can eliminate the rest of the people back to their seat, and then you show them that the chair that the person sat in has a message, that says the person who will think of the celebrity will be sat in this chair. This is a very good example of how just using like 5 pieces of paper, you can create quite a big routine that will fill a stage. So that's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is other suites, okay, other suites, and in this one, there are a couple of routines which I'll just briefly describe, okay. There is a routine called theme object, okay, and well, it's a stack of like cards with like themes on them. So like cooking, transportation, travel. A spectator looks at one card and they think of an item in that category, and you're able to cleanly reveal that. I was immediately reminded of the work of Bruce Bernstein, okay, in this area. Okay, so if you have Unreal, Bruce Bernstein's book, a similar idea does appear in there as well. The next routine is a routine called Blue Suede Shoes, okay, that is contributed by Fabien, okay, and this one, there are again some categories of things, right, like museum of modern art paintings, American literature, and there are like a couple of things under those categories. A spectator chooses one of these cards, they think of any one of the items under the category, and you can immediately reveal the information as well. The next routine, also by Fabien, is called Osse. Okay, now this one is really interesting, okay, because it uses famous paintings. I'll just briefly show you the paintings, okay? So they've got reproductions of the paintings that you can use for this. So there will be some arts and crafts if you wish to perform this routine exactly like how it's described, right? The effect is as such, right? You have a whole stack of paintings, you have the spectator just think of one of these paintings, and from there you can immediately start to describe the painting and you can nail the painting as well. This one has an interesting method. It's not exactly, well, I'm not sure how to describe the method without giving too much away, but there is, let's just say, a system, okay, that you have to kind of commit to memory. Once you have it down, all right, and if you have this stack of paintings, you can just have a spectator look at any one of the paintings, okay, your back can be turned, they look at the painting, they look at the name, and you can immediately just start describing the painting and eventually tell them the name of the painting as well. Chapter 3 is a chapter called Sweet Thoughts, alright, and here there are no routines that are taught, but there's a lot of thought, alright, on mentalism stuff. Okay, so for example, there's an essay here called Switch, Peak, or Center Tear. Here, Eric will talk about his philosophy, all right, his approaches in selecting a method. Okay, he will talk about how to begin, using billets, how to, start using them in your shows, the most common fears when using billets, how to overcome them, how to switch them, how to read them. He gives you advice on that as well. There's a lot of ideas actually to use a wine glass and stuff like that. There is also ideas on fourth dimensional telepathy, all right, which I think again is a staple, of many performing mentalists all over the world, myself included. He gives you his thoughts on 4DT, all right, and what he finds is important, okay, because many of us, at least, professional performers, we have our own kind of approaches to the routine. Some people, they perform a 3-envelope test, but maybe one of the items is not as fair as the other 2, okay, which gives you the start of that sequence, of that method, right? And then there are some people who wish that each of the billets must be returned to the correct audience member. Okay, these are important considerations, and they are like personal choice, okay? And I think Eric gives you his rationale, all right, and he explains why he does things a certain way and how to hide the basic method that is at play, in most of these sorts of routines. Then Eric, all right, teaches you his EB center tear. Personally, I didn't really learn it. I briefly browsed through it because I have already a method I'm really comfortable with. It can be done in one of two ways, this particular method. It can be a real-time or a stolen method. Okay, so it's up to you which one you prefer. Then to close off the book, Fabien will give you ideas about connecting with the audience. You know, it talks about how mentalism can connect with an audience, how to be, you know, reassuring and relaxed on stage as well, you know, certain ideas like that. He will also talk about, I'll just say it, okay, he'll give you thoughts about pumping, okay, and his approaches and his philosophy, you know, how to write a script to use that method in order to gain information. He also talks about covering up mistakes, okay, if you do make them in the course of, you know, in such a sequence, you know. So I thought overall it was just a really interesting mentalism read. Before I go, I want to thank Fabien, all right, merci beaucoup for sending me a copy of Mental Suites for me to have a look at and chat about on this show. Okay, so till the next episode, do stay safe, take care of yourselves, have fun with your magic and your mentalism, stay positive, okay, and I will see you on the next one.